Fat loss is broken down into different stages. Now, stage 1 could be your fat loss, your deficit stage, where you're in a calorie deficit and you're trying to lose fat. You're on the grind. And within that stage 1, you could have multiple different phases of that stage. Stage 2, you've hit your goal weight, dream physique, and now you got to reverse diet extremely slowly. That could be stage 2. Stage 3, totally different. Now we're getting up to our maintenance calories. We're trying to maintain the lean, strong physique that you've worked so hard to achieve. Here's the thing. Think about it like this. Imagine you're a bit of a big spender. You spend essentially all of your money on yourself. You're currently living at home, but you're trying to save up to purchase your own home, become an independent homeowner. So you need a deposit. You need to change your spending habits. Now let's just say living at home, and this is a reality for most people in their late 20s, early 30s, with things being so expensive at the moment, you decide to make a lot of cutbacks. And this is going to relate massively towards fat loss, because when you're trying to lose fat and you were being a bit of a pig before, a bit of a piggy, eating whatever you want, you gotta make a lot of sacrifices in order to get that fat off. Let's say for the guts of a year, you decide to make a lot of sacrifices, whether that's cutting back on your spending habits through you've got an expensive hobby, not spending money on yourself every single week, not getting yourself a new outfit every week, not getting haircuts every week. Overall, just being good with money, not being a dickhead with your finances. And you're able to save up your nice 10% deposit, which, congratulations, fair play. However, because that is a small amount based off the amount that you're going to need to purchase your own home, let's say here in Sydney, just ballpark number, let's say you save up the guts of 80 grand and you need 800,000, you're going to be left with a pretty hefty mortgage repayment that you're going to need to make every week or every month, whatever way you decide to pay it. Now, here's the thing. Think of saving for your deposit as your initial fat loss phase. Stage 1, you're just trying to get lean. You're trying to get as lean as possible. That's you saving up for your mortgage. That's your deposit. If you decide that as soon as you get your deposit, bingo bango, I can go back to living the high life, out for expensive dinners, spending money on myself, just back to your old habits, you're not going to have enough money to make your mortgage repayments. And eventually, the bank is going to come and take it off you, and you will find yourself in an even bigger shit show than you initially started. Fat loss is the same. If you decide to make a lot of sacrifices, and here's the thing, a lot of people do have to make a lot of sacrifices to get the dream physique that you want. That's a normal thing. We live in such a world of comfort, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, things like that, that we don't really have to do too much. Like some people don't have to leave the house at all anymore. Work from home, food's delivered directly to the door. We're a lazy trying to keep it PG, but we're a lazy society. Let's be honest. If you decide that as soon as you lose the fat and you decide to throw all those healthy habits out the window, you will find yourself in a even bigger and on a healthier stage than when you initially started. You'll pack the weight on fairly quick. And if you don't keep the habits up after you've lost your initial weight or after you've hit your initial goal, you're gonna go back to square one, if not worse. You're gonna rebound, that's what it's called. You rebound back to fat, essentially. It's not a nice way to put it, but there's no easy way to get around this. It happens very abruptly. It can very quickly get out of control. And this is where, when people talk about, they started a deficit or they did a calorie deficit or a diet and it left them with mental health problems. No. The diet didn't leave you with mental health problems. Your uncontrollable greed after your diet, that's what caused the problem. Let's be honest, because when you're lean, you're performing great, you're looking great, you feel like a machine, you're feeling very capable. No mental health problems, no anxiety, no eating disorders when that's going on. But when you decide to throw all that out the window and go, I want some pizza, ice cream, and you just decide to go back to the way you used to be, you will pack the weight back on. So how do you get around this? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. For example, today marks the end of my 8-week cut. I'm going to have to go into a reverse diet phase. What does that look like? I'm going to have to slowly increase the calories, very slowly each week, gradually pull them up, and I'm going to gradually take down my cardio. The reason you do it in such a slow way is to make sure that you can keep an eye on the scales, you can keep an eye on your body weight, on your physique, your body fat percentage, how you feel, how you perform in the gym. There's a lot of metrics that you gotta keep an eye on to make sure that you keep your lean physique. You don't eat way too much calories that's gonna put you back in a not a fat position, but put you back to where all your hard work has been discredited because you've lost control, basically. If you decide to diet is only one piece of the puzzle. You gotta be mega strict on yourself. And I actually think, I don't think the dieting phase is the most difficult part. I think the reverse diet phase is way more difficult, because I think back to my first men's physique bodybuilding show. It was, I think, solid 10 to 12 weeks. I can't remember, it was a long time ago. I showed a little photo up. I was looking insane. I was mega impressed with myself. That little sense of achievement, look what I've done in such a short space of time. However, I'm not going to blame the coach. Like, it was my fault. I should have been more tuned in. It's always good, the blame game. But I remember as soon as I finished it, it was a 2-hour drive back to my home city. I live in Derry. I did the show in Belfast. Brilliant experience on cloud 9. I hit the drink immediately. Straight after that, I think I got 2 Domino's pizzas, big massive ones, garlic dip. So I've got beer in me, maybe a bit of vodka, along with maybe some other things. We got 2 pizzas, burgers, garlic dip. The next day, straight to the shop, and I just could not stop eating for about a week straight. I ballooned back up. Now, I managed to pull it back ever so slightly, but I had stopped doing the cardio. I was doing upwards of maybe an hour and a half of cardio every single day on the Stairmaster, which is tough. Training religiously, my diet was locked in. The sleep was locked in. I had a strict bedtime. All of that went out the window. I was still training hard, and I felt like I was looking good, starting to fill up, get those glycogen stores filled up again, veins looking good on the body. However, that was short-lived. Within a matter of months, I had lost all definition of my body. It was not a good look. A photo up to give an example, and I had planned to compete later on the following year. So I competed at the end of September, ballooned up by Christmas. It's not a good look. And then I was going to compete again in April. Fair enough, you could say I packed on a bit of muscle. It was incredibly difficult, and I did not look as good as I should have looked on stage in April, because I was in such, if you look at my first show, I was in a lot better condition before I started dieting. Look at my second show prep, I was pretty fat. Like, I was big and strong, but I was fat. And I really, really, really struggled with the diet. I just found it incredibly difficult. That can happen to anybody. Lesson learned, I never let that happen again. You know, mid-30s, business got in the way. I moved to Sydney. I decided to not be surrounded by fitness, but you've heard that story before. So to summarize, when you diet, your initial dieting stage or phase is only phase 1. When you finish your initial urgent timestamp of hard dieting, that's where it gets tricky. So if you take your initial diet phase of 12 weeks, now you may have to go into anywhere from 3 up until 6 weeks of slow reverse dieting. And the reason you gotta do it slow is, as you're increasing the calories and as you're decreasing your energy expenditure, there's gonna become a point where things get a little bit uneven, where you may have to pull the food back slightly, increase cardio slightly to help get you into a healthy range where you're not putting on too much body fat, you're not putting on weight too quickly, but you're still maintaining your strength, you're still able to perform. This is the tricky part of dieting, which a lot of people just seem to skip or miss, or maybe they're not aware of it. I'm not too sure what happens. I just got greedy and wanted to eat as much fucking shit as possible. You've got your dieting phase, you've got your reverse diet phase, then you've got your maintenance phase. Reverse diet has to happen, or you're going to go back to your maintenance. Maintenance is pretty much going to be what you look like before you started dieting. You got stage 1, diet, hard deficit, fat loss phase. Reverse diet, you're still going to be losing fat because your deficit is so deep. It's slowly going to bring it back up. That's stage 2, phase 2. Maintenance is the third phase. Now, being able to do all that on your own is stage 4. These two stages, reverse diet and maintenance, they take a long time. You've got to lock in for a long time for your reverse phase and your maintenance phase to work. Otherwise, you're just going to throw all your hard work down the toilet.